Good morning. It's Norma Cowie with Norma Talks. I am early today. I usually don't start till 9 a.m., but unfortunately, due to some circumstances, I have an appointment where I have to be at 10 and I have to get there for that. Because this weekend, all sorts of weird things happened to me. And now I'm back visiting the wound center again with a different complaint, not really, but a different situation. Life is full of unexpected happenings. Now, sometimes it can be really good. For instance, my son decided to come up and spend a couple of days with me, which meant he worked. He did my yard. He fixed my yard up for the fall, my patio up for the fall. He vacuumed, he cleaned the floor, all the things that right now I have difficulty doing. So that was really, really good. And so I decided it would be easier for me to begin this early and apologize for not being right on time and not having a chat line there, because I need to make sure I'm where I need to be to get this next thing done. But I'm going to tell you a little story, because I'm going to talk about sayings today. Like, how do you fill yourself up now when you're feeling down, or when the unexpected happens, like out of the blue? Now, and this is what happened to me this weekend. I had a little sore up here in my, and I'd shown it to a couple people, and they said, "Oh, nothing to worry about, nothing to worry about." Well, Friday we were working with my arm, and by the way, it's way reduced, which is great. And I showed my nurse that looks after this, and she said, "That doesn't look good to me. I think you need to talk to your oncologist." So long weekend, nobody's available. In the meantime, my son arrives, and we have as I said, a really nice time. And during Friday night, while I was sleeping, I was noticing, because I had my hand over this part of my body, that this thing kept growing. And I felt like I had a golf ball in my hand, and it was filling my hand up. And I was trying to think, like, what is going on here? So anyway, I got up the next morning, and I wasn't feeling great. This thing was sore and hot, red. And my son said, "Mom, get a cold pack or something and just take the heat out of that." So I sat there with this cold pack on me, watching some sports that was on. And anyway, as time went on, what I didn't notice was what was happening was the pain seemed to recede. And I thought, "Oh, that's great." But then all of a sudden I noticed I was really wet. Now, what I found out later, which I didn't realize, that this thing on here was a cyst, and it blew out. All I knew when I went to look at where it was this hole, like a hole in myself, which is why now I have to run off to the wound center for them to figure out what they're going to do with that, because it's been weeping for days, which isn't the greatest thing to have happen. But I did get to the oncology department, and they said, "We believe it's a cyst. Get to the wound center," which we made the appointment, so we're all good there. But unexpected things happen. So how do you deal with that? Now, I always used to have some sayings, and it's like, today's the first day of the rest of your life. In other words, if it's not a very good day, get yourself together, because whatever you are today is going to be into the future. There were lots of other little sayings. In fact, I wrote some up in the talk, but every day is, "Oh yeah, today's the first day of the rest of your life." That was one I used for a long time when I was going through some difficulties way back. Today is the first day. So in other words, don't worry what happened yesterday. Concentrate on today. Take care of the issues that you have to take care of. Now, I have something I really want to share, is because yesterday I felt really good. Maybe this thing coming out and letting whatever. I felt good. I went in and out a lot. I was having no trouble walking. Although I still use my walker when I'm going down the hallway or go shopping or something. But my knees were good. There was no aches. There was no pain, which lately with the weather changing, I've been feeling. And then I got up this morning. My knees did not want to work. I hurt in a couple of places that I haven't hurt for a wee while. And I looked outside, and I looked at the clouds, and the darkness. And I went, this is what's happened. Instead of having a nice, clear blue sky with no pressure, the body is responding to the pressure. My arms are sore. My knees are really tight. So that just means I have to take it easy when I'm walking, making sure that my steps are clear. Because we have to look after ourselves. We have to make sure that what our needs are met. I know that I just finished this morning writing up my newsletter, because one of the things I just couldn't get to was the newsletter. It was just like it was that one step too much. What am I going to say? What am I going to do? How am I going to work this? All those things came across my mind, and I just didn't think. And yesterday when I was feeling better, I said, you ready to sit down and do this newsletter? And I really wasn't. This morning, feeling not so great and knowing that I'm a little bit of a time jam, I sat down and wrote a small newsletter, which will go out a little later today. It's not very informative. It just tells a little bit of what's going on, which probably you get from here anyway. And lots of interesting elements is that I had a couple of people in a waiting list for channeling, and I looked at that, and I've picked a date towards the end of the month. And we will do another channeling day. So if anyone wants to have their guide speak to them, I'm not going to have a big lot, just a few. I've got spaces for maybe 2-3 more people. And then that will be nice for me because I really enjoy it. And as I've said several times, when I'm working, I don't feel the pains or I don't feel restricted. Everything seems to flow fairly well. Sometimes not as much as others, but that's par for the course. But I am getting stronger. I am getting better. I am getting better. And even I've got cysts coming out of nowhere. But that's life. How do you handle life when things aren't going the way you want them? I took a look at a couple of tarot cards this morning, actually, trying to think exactly what am I going to say. I wasn't sure how I was going to talk today. And Norma Talks is talking about something. And there was a couple of symbols in there that sort of said you can get stuck. People can get stuck very easily on a perception they may have in their minds, more mental perhaps than emotional. Because remember, as I talk about basics all the time, one of the elements as we have our mental, to me, is the framework. That puts the framework together. But the emotion is what gives the energy and fills it in. And very often in our society, we don't acknowledge the emotion, the feeling, the wherewithal of everything. We just don't. And yet that is an incredible part of it. When I wasn't going to say this, but I am going to say that in the last few weeks, I find I cry very easily. It's as though I read something in the book I'm reading and I cry. I have a thought and I cry. But it's not sadness. It's a letting go of the tension of wondering what on earth was going on with me, because that's been a real pressure. When we were doing the radiation on my arm, we had radiation session pretty well every other day. Well, actually, there was one day there was a miss because of the weekend. And we had to drive an hour and a half. And my friend Marion did that. She did the driving. But then you go through this radiation, some other things, and then you have to drive back home. And then you wait a day, and then you get to do it all again. I have to say, though, the result between the immunology that I'm doing and the radiation, my arm is like just a little bump, well, a bit bigger than a bump maybe, but it's really, really responded well. Everything's been responding well. It's just getting yourself back in. I finally, as I think I said already, I got hungry yesterday. I haven't been really hungry for a few weeks now. Which people say, oh, Norma, you're dropping weight. Yeah, sure I am, because I'm not eating. I'm not hungry. I was hungry yesterday. I went looking for, what have I got here? What can we have? What can I do? And I made food. I was feeling so good yesterday. So actually, in a way, if you ever had a health condition, you can feel really good, and then often you kind of retract a little, but then you're going to feel good again. So that's helpful. But I want you to remember today that you are the creator of your world, whether it's sad, whether it's great, whether it's not. But look at what you say to yourself. And I did a little talk on a Sunday Thought about, talking to yourself, because I do talk to myself a lot, especially right now, because I'm encouraging myself. You'll be right. Pat myself on the back, so to speak, even though I can't reach back there. You'll be okay. You'll get through this, and because some days are tougher than others. Some days my knees don't want to work. Other days, like yesterday, I walked up and down a lot. I went out several times, actually, remembering, oh, right, I got to do this. So I went out and do it. Life is like that. Do we knuckle under? Do we become less than? Or do we come to a point where we are aware that we have the reins of our lives? We have the reins to pull up, to go forward, to stand still, whatever. And a lot of it is how you think. It sets the pattern. There's a saying I just remembered as it drops in my mind: we're our own worst enemy, but we're also our own best friend. That's the one to remember. You are your own best friend. And all the friends that you have with you also are there, yes. But if you're not on your team, if you're not supporting yourself for whatever it is you're going to go through. And I'm saying this because I keep reading more and more and more about what's coming in our lives. Different psychics, different predictors, different people saying, hold on, look out. I looked at my own every year. At the beginning of January, I sit down and do my reading for the year. I should have known something was coming up this year because it kept talking about acceptance every month. Acceptance. And of course, I kind of ignored that. Yeah, well, of course, yeah, we'll accept. So anyway, yes, it's been a year. But what does it say? I'm going to read you what it says for October, which is kind of an interesting. It quite changes. Remember, I just all the way through. Now, October, a feeling of succeeding and finally getting to where you want to be and how you want it. Celebration all around. Well, we're only at the 4th. So that tells me, when I look at this, all these other months, which was acceptance, letting go, accept, etc. I loved August. Do not let your stubbornness keep you from moving forward. Time to let go and move forward. That happened. I got stubborn. Made things a little worse, actually, in some ways. But now, I'll tell you November's. It says, life waits for no man. So once more, looking ahead and trusting all will be well. So I give myself lots of talk through just look at, okay, what's this month going to be? So we're kind of moving out of the acceptance mode into creating, looking, and being. These months, October, November, December, the last 3 months of this particular year. This particular year is a 7-year, 2023. If I remember rightly, yes. 7 is about inside, what you're finding inside. But next year it goes to an end. 2024 would be 2 and 2. Yeah, oh gosh, my brain isn't working right this morning. But anyway, I think it's an 8. And we move into an 8-year next year, which is balance between your material and your mental, your emotional worlds, getting everything and keeping it in balance. And if you're not imbalanced, that can be when things begin to get a little squirrely for you. I know when I'm drawing 8s for people, I always look at how I draw them because I don't do it consciously. And sometimes they have big bottoms, the bottom part of the 8 is big and the top isn't, which tells me they're not using their philosophy and or mental, applying it to their lives, or the opposite, so much up and very little down. So again, no balance. Next year is going to be a fun year. One would know whichever way we look at it, I believe, because we got to bring things into balance. And what are we balancing? Mostly we have needing to balance out who we are, what we're doing, and where we're going. Well, I really want to thank you for those that missed me having me be right live at 9, but I've got to get ready. I've got to get out of here. I've got to go get this thing fixed and figure out what they're going to do with that. Life is full of surprises. And hey, some surprises aren't as good as others, but some are just wonderful. I want you to have a great day. I want you to enjoy, and I want you to really think about, what do you tell yourself? Not just thoughts and, good. I often call myself a good girl. Good girl, keep going. But what is the sentence? Where do you really see the end result that you're wanting? Because it all applies. And just know that life is really there to support you. And I find so many people forgetting that these days. They forget that it's supporting. That's what life's about. You're not alone. You may feel alone sometimes. You might feel like, here I am going through all this, but you're not by yourself. There's a big lot of emotional, mental, spiritual support that you don't see. So it's like, can rest into that. And I've done that many times in my life. Just rest into the knowing that the support is there. The love is there. And often the answers are there if you just let them in. Letting them into the brain, letting them into the awareness of who you are and where you are. Well, I kind of didn't think I had anything to say today, but I guess I had a few things to say. You have a great day. I shall see you Sunday. Bye now.